Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for Christ's sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want to help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
Hey, everybody, we're dedicating the evening to your calls, 984-237-3739, 984-237-3739. Make it easy, 9842-Dr. Drew. And how is everybody feeling? It's a special election night episode, and I want people to calm yourself. I personally am feeling remarkably at ease with things. I don't know why. I wonder if other people are feeling the same way. I've got texts raining down on me that are going both directions. Biden won, Trump won, it's over. And each time I get a text, I think, okay, well, that's a world I can get used to, I guess. Well, okay, now I'm getting used to the other world again. Let's think what that's going to be like. And I think that is a good way to approach this evening. But I do think that, to me, the tweet of the evening was, I retweeted it. That's the last retweet on my thread. Where a woman showed a Biden-Trump adversarial sort of bullhorn demonstration going on where they all suddenly in unison started singing God Bless America together. And I thought, yeah, if we can do that a little more tonight, that will be a damn good thing. Give me a call. Let me welcome in my buddy Tyrus. I don't bring in rhymes the way Greg Gutfeld does. If you want to hear a rhyme about Tyrus, written by Kat Timpf, you'll have to listen to the Greg Gutfeld show on Saturday night, 10 o'clock. How are you, sir? I've missed you.
I'm maintaining, man. How are you?
Good. So first I want to know, how did the hurricanes affect you? You okay with all that?
We got with some power losses. New Orleans, I think a lot of power is still out. And so we're still trying to get through that. Hopefully all power will be restored next week.
Great.
So, the horrors of not having power for a week can be difficult on a lot of families, and we're seeing a lot of frustrations. But we're, just Louisiana, we just got to deal with it. I'm sure there's another one brewing. We've had so far. So
yeah, we have obviously earthquakes out here, and I keep saying Susan's over to my left here. We've got to buy a big generator, a gas-powered generator. We have to do it, at least to keep the refrigerator going or some light bulbs going, some computers going, but we never seem to get around to it, which is driving me crazy.
It's an inexpensive purchase if you look at how much you'll lose without power. Usually a good generator is around, like $350, $400, but the amount of stuff that you'll go through and the fact that you can't, you got to leave your house also because you have no power.
Yeah.
And all your food and perishables go quickly.
And it could go on for a couple of weeks, out here if we really get a bad one, that could happen. But enough catastrophe talk for a second. Let's talk about the non-catastrophe I'm hoping we have this evening. What are your thoughts?
I voted this morning, and I kind of left it all there. Mm-hmm. It's not out of my hands now. I did my part, and now I'll just kind of watch the events unfold, and in the typical American way, we'll get it done. I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
An old white man.
Say that again.
Either way, an old white man's going to be calling the shots, so it's business as usual as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, sir. Although, to be fair, I mean, if one white man has a lady of mixed descent behind him, should he happen or need to step down, it's a little bit of a different thing, yeah?
Yeah, but you would have to, I would imagine, you would have to pry the presidency out of someone's literal dead hands before they would give it up. I mean, you are basically the ruler of the free world. I can't see anybody going through the hell they go through to run for the office to just go, well, I'm here.
Yeah.
Away. I think that narrative was idiotic as it gets and didn't play out very well. Oh, he's running so he can give it up. Yeah, it's not. Have you not known the ego it takes to be the president of the United States?
But do you have the same feeling of I've been intentionally not watching television or listening to the radio or anything all day, but in spite of that, I feel a sense of calm somehow. Is it just me? Am I naive, or are you feeling something like that?
No, I think the media kind of gives us a break on election night because they're just covering it will be the next couple of days that the fuses will be lit. The flashing headlines of miscount here or this, that, or someplace somebody has an issue or a postal worker threw out a bag of votes. It'll be something. They'll give us 24 hours to kind of catch our breath, and then they start the cycle all over again. And we just have to be I tweeted this morning. I was like, we're Americans. We live in America, not Americas, and we just gotta, take our L's like a champ and take our wins with grace and respect each other because the way things are looking, we're going to need each other. China's getting emboldened, and we're seeing more evidence of cyber attacks on our stuff, and they're a hiccup away from going after our power grid. We're literally exposed to a lot of hacks from overseas and stuff, and we're too busy. They're trying to support President Trump, or they're trying to support Vice President Biden. We're missing the point. Is that they're in our yard stirring things up, and that should be a bigger, more so than who benefits from it, because we kind of get lost in what's really important is they're in our yard, period.
Well, so. I agree. I agree with all that, and I'm sort of impressed that there's a certain amount of calm that is going on here. Susan, could you plug that in for me there? My computer's starting to run down. Let's get some calls going here, my friend. I wanted to take calls. I really want also to sort of, my goal tonight is to keep things calm and to deal with people's anxiety. So if people are feeling anxious or having trouble with this evening, or you're really unhappy with the way it's going, here's the place to bring it. I generally feel like things have gone well this whole day, and I'm sort of impressed with us. In spite of it having been a very weird year, I want to talk about that too in a second. Matt, go ahead. You have a question?
What's that? Hold on, man. I'm on a call. No, I'm done jerking off. You can come up. Hello?
That's really funny. Thank you, Matt. Enjoy your day on Twitch. AJ, what's going on?
That's funny.
AJ.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, man.
So, yeah, I don't know. As we know, 2020 has been an F year for so many of us.
It's been weird. Been weird.
My daughter just celebrated her 5th birthday about a week ago.
Congratulations.
2 weeks prior to that, my ex had run away with her in the middle of the night while I was sleeping to Las Vegas. I live on Long Island, so I haven't seen my daughter in a year. And within 3 months of her getting out there, the reason I was calling was I saw somebody in the chat stream mention poly.
Yeah.
Within 3 months of her getting out there, she entered into a polyamorous relationship.
Yeah.
So, I mean, hardcore codependency issues, I guess, on her side.
Well, it's hard to know exactly what's going on. I mean, look, somebody that runs off with a kid in the middle of the night, don't you have some recourse?
Well, I've been trying, and after it had happened, all the court shut down, so I wasn't able to file paperwork. And then,
oh my God,
I kept trying to call lawyer. It's like, oh well, if you don't have $5,000, I'm sorry, can't help you.
What about calling the cops?
Well, I tried to do that. I even called the police out here. They said, oh, we didn't, because apparently the police helped her.
What?
Leave in the middle of the night.
The police?
I called the police. Yes, I called the police the day later, and they couldn't find a police report because her stepmother or her mother, I mean, the story, she's got 3 mothers. That's a whole other issue. But right. I tried to call and get a police report from the police, and No, we weren't here. We
All right,
didn't
all
do
right.
anything.
So here's the
Oh,
deal.
hold on. Man. Hold
Yeah.
on. This very simple question: who has custody? Does she have custody?
We have joint custody, but I guess it has that asterisk on it of she has residential, but we have joint custody. I was there holding her leg
The
while she
domiciliary,
birthed my child.
Holding her leg?
If she has the asterisk by it, that means
Well,
she
yeah,
has the
no,
domiciliary.
I don't know. I don't know. When they give birth, the doctor's like, here, hold the leg.
Okay.
The kid's coming
So
out.
Tyrus, say that again.
So she has domiciliary custody, so she can legally take the child wherever
Got
she
it.
wants to go.
Got it.
So it sucks, but she's within her legal rights. And
And
tried
I've heard
to call.
that she can't even legally leave with out of 20 miles. Like, I've heard
I'm
that.
imagining
I've
it.
heard
Case
so
that
many
it's
different.
very easy. It's very easy to get a court-appointed attorney if you can't afford it, and if you have a custody ruling where she can't go outside of the state, it's very easy to enforce, and courts are very good about that. So I have children live in other states and stuff, and if someone just decides they want to take them somewhere or do something, they can. But if you have a physical address and you have the documentation saying that they can't take the child within 29 miles without a written release from you, the local law enforcement will enforce it. So
That's right.
Unless you don't have any of those things.
And if let's say he doesn't, does he have to go to Las Vegas to see his child? That's all he has?
He will have to get an attorney in Las Vegas if that's her new resident. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awful. I'm sorry, AJ, but
But it's not always as awful as it sounds, because is there any other issues that you're not bringing up? Was there a restraining order? There's a lot of other things that go into it. Usually when people have all these, and then her stepmother works for the clerk's office, and then she used her influence with the police to deny me. Every time I've heard stories like that, they're all completely made up. It takes 2 seconds to call. Just keeping it real. Keeping it real.
But what's preventing
the child? You can prove it, and no lawyer says, "Oh, it's going to be $5,000." You get a court-appointed attorney. They're literally everywhere. There's a hotline for dads. There's a million things that you can do besides call in here and complain about it.
Well, that's so fascinating to me, because I have the exact same opinion about so many medical situations and homelessness in addition, where there's all these things you can do, and people go, I've tried everything, I can't do anything. It's like, have you tried this, there's all these things people can do. It's fascinating to me what prevents, when they're sick or have mental illness, I kind of understand anything is difficult, but what is it, Tyrus, that prevents people from doing what's simply their legal right to do?
What prevents them? It's called the truth. Then, because if you do investigating, typically when all the powers that be have come together and police officers are working overtime, hiding police reports and covering up for this person, then you come to find out the grounds of their breakup. There was typically an assault or something like that, or they didn't have custody,
right,
or they haven't paid child support in 6 months. Right. You're like, oh, what about this? Well, I'm not paying that. I'm not paying her. She's spending the money on herself. That's not the point. That's not how it works, bro. Or that she did tell him and he didn't want to hear it, or deep down he doesn't want the relationship over, and she went to Vegas for the new relationship, so he's going to say, oh, she tried to do this to me. Usually when there's a lot of extenuating circumstances, and I'm putting my fingers up, it's not always the conspiracy theory. It's that you're not quite telling the truth, because if someone took my child and took off from me, hell or high water, I would have found him, especially if you have an address. So if you know she's in Vegas.
And as you say, if you have let's review it again. If you have the written document that she can't take them outside 29 miles, you get the court-appointed attorney, you get the law enforcement. If you don't have that, you get the attorney.
Letter within 10 days saying that you need to return, and you face, because she could lose custody.
Yeah.
So if you both have joint custody, but asterisk, she has domiciliary custody. She has the majority of the custody. So that's why she's able to go where she's from. And if you're not paying the child support, you don't have a leg to stand on. So,
and then if it's
not the case,
you can go to Las Vegas, get an attorney again, court-appointed attorney, help with the local law enforcement, and off you go.
Yeah, and it's quick. She'll be home real quick, if that's legit. I call it like I see it.
Casey Gates saying when a person is stressed, they can't think straight. Family, friends, professionals come in. That's true, Casey, but it's been a year. It's been a year. He's had a year to think about this and take some action. So, and Casey, did I see you at a party last night on Locals? Again, locals.com is where I spend a little time these days, drdrew.locals.com. And that looked like a super spreader event, Casey, if that was your video I was looking at. I really was kind of, I didn't like watching that. It looked like people were going to walk away from that party with a lot of COVID. All right, we're talking about anxiety, we're talking about the election, and this is Anthony.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, man, what's up?
Hey, can you hear me?
I hear you. What's going on there?
Sorry, my phone's all messed up. Hey, I want to start off, man. I gotta say to Tyrus, man, I was a huge WWE fan, by the way.
Oh, thanks.
And look, Tyrus has got Tyrus.
Yeah.
He's got multiple places you can find him now. Gutfeld on Saturday night. Enough said. Tyrus and Timph. It's all. Is there a website you refer people to, Tyrus?
No, I just do Instagram and Twitter. I've literally cut my social media down to two areas. I feel that's honestly too much. But I just cut it down. My life's a lot simpler.
And let me say on the restream, somebody is saying getting help from legal aid is very difficult, and not all states have court-appointed attorney for custody cases. That's interesting.
Previous call.
But again, that was the previous call we were talking about. Legal aid societies are what we're talking about, and what she's talking about. And you can go there, and usually get pretty good help. Go ahead, man.
You're talking.
Oh, yeah. No, it was just really bringing me back, man. God rest my grandfather's soul, man. I remember, when we were younger, I used to watch the wrestling matches with you. I actually remember sitting there one night, we were watching that match against you in the Big Show, and he used to call you the biggest jobber in the world. He didn't understand why Vince ever had you on, and it got pretty nasty, actually. He took the fucking TV and he threw it out the window, smashed onto my car, man. It called a whole hoopla over your career, man, but I always gave you the benefit of the doubt.
All right.
So he ruined your car because a entertainment show hurt his feelings?
No, I think he just used to reference your lack of talent. He didn't understand your whole shtick, and he called you a ham and egg and everything under the book, man. It was terrible. I really rooted for you. I'm sorry, things didn't work out for you in wrestling, but hell, I was a huge fan. The fucking hose, man.
Rough, man. My life is rough. You know what the worst part is that you're not man enough to try to say I'm trying to troll you or talk trash. You're going to blame it on your dead grandfather. That explains a lot about you. But the fact that wrestling is just like any other TV show, I'll send you one of my action figures I still get paid for, and I'm still on TV. So when you can get anything like that, a ham and egger is something that you have to borrow money for someone to buy for you on Wednesday because you're short, because your Subway's cutting your hours because you're late all the time. So if you're going to talk trash about somebody, at least come relevant. We have no idea who you are. You waited in line hours to try to make up some story about some grandfather who probably didn't like spending ways because you were always full of it. So, I didn't like your career. Well, if you're ever in the business and you get a script, somebody's got to die and somebody's got to win, but it's not real. Unlike life, which is probably pretty bad.
Is wrestling full of characters like that? There's sort of the fan.
He was trying to be clever. Like my grandfather said, I have no respect for men who can't say what they mean and mean what they say. He wanted to blame it on somebody else. He called you a jobber. You watch way too much wrestling for a grown-ass man.
Well, that's what I was thinking. That's what I was asking. A grown-ass man sort of seemed like he's getting into the
Terminator movies, too. I guess if he would have ducked in the Terminator movies, it'd still be Terminators would have took over the world. Like these are the type of dudes that you just have to laugh at.
Well, he's sort of getting into the act in a way, which I sort of like.
Yeah, but he's not getting paid for it. That's
right.
Saying like, yeah, I'm part of the campaign. Right. Well, yeah, what do you do? Oh, no, I'm just part of it.
Our number is 984-237-3739, 984-237-3739. And watch you guys on the restream. Dawn, I don't even understand what he was talking about either, but he thought he was sort of getting into the whole wrestling theme. If you guys have questions, give us a call. How are you doing on this election night? Are you feeling upset? Are you feeling anxious? I'm looking at the stream. You guys seem to be holding it together. Again, I opened by saying that I think that things are a lot more calm than I expected. What do you guys think? Again, that number is 984-237-3739. How's the fish going, Tyrus?
They're good, man. I'm in breeding season, so I've got a bunch of tanks. I got like 6 tanks. I pulled pairs out, and I've got my flower horns and some of my hybrid species are all breeding, so I'm excited about it. So my hobby buddies are like, "Oh, what do you got crossed right now?" And I got some really cool fish from Thailand that I'm mixing with South American. So we're gonna have some monsters coming out. So it's a fun hobby, and this is the fun part because then you get to deal with the fry and your little guys and change the water and watch them grow, and you got to deal with anywhere from 50 to 500 baby fish. So it's a lot. Little tanks.
Wow.
You got to watch the parents, make sure mom and dad don't become little cannibals. But most of the time, cichlids are surprisingly really good parents, and they will raise their fish till they're really large size, which is kind of funny that you would think with fish are supposed to be on the lower end of intelligence, etc. But they're really dedicated parents.
So somebody wants us to discuss free will and determinism, which I'm willing to do. But first, let's talk about 2020. It's been a really weird year, and we're still, I guess, in the throes of it with this election. So I'm guessing that whatever happens tonight, it will be weird, right? If 2020 lives up to its current trend, it'll be somehow weird. I don't know what that means even, but I'm just going to predict. That's going to be my only prediction for the night. It'll be weird. But when you look back on this year, it's just... I don't know what else to call it except sort of a shit show, but I do feel like we will emerge with some qualities that we might like. I mean, things like being able to work from home and doing Zoom meetings and being able to occupy ourselves with, and people being physically active. I think there's a giant price to be paid in terms of mental health, and I'm very, very worried about that. But what are your thoughts on 2020?
It definitely was challenging. I think it brought out the best in us and then the worst of us.
Yeah.
And we really got a good pulse for who you really know who you are in the mirror when 2020 is over. Were you a fighter? Were you a person of integrity? Were you shady? Were you a coward? Like, you know exactly who you are because we've all been tested. Are you a trustworthy person? Did you lie to yourself a lot? So we definitely can see who we are, and we definitely have a good look at the people that are closest with us. The time we had to spend locked down with people, you really get a good idea for how good your relationship is, how much work it needed, or how much of a mistake you made. I think it was really if I could describe 2020 in a compound word, it would be truth serum. I think 2020 was truth serum.
Interesting. Well, to that point, I see people asking about popular vote versus electoral college. Let's talk about that for a second, because I think people have lost track of the basic principles upon which this country was founded. The opening statement of our Constitution is, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union of the states." The plan here was a perfect union of the states, not a perfect federal government, not a perfect democracy, not a perfect popular organization, but a union of states. And if we don't find a way, like an electoral college, like the number of senators in the Senate, a way of balancing the representation of those states, we do not have a union. We have one giant federal mishegas. But that was never the structure of our Constitution. Do you agree with that? And why do people get so... I understand why they get weird about the popular versus the electoral. We have this general sort of value in democracy and the sort of the idea that the majority should rule. But that is separate from the idea of the more perfect union. And let's never forget that when the founding folks set this thing up, there had never been a successful democracy. Democracies always imploded. And that's why they set up a republic and not a democracy. And part of the republic is the more perfect union. What say you, Tyrus?
I agree with that. I just think that the founding fathers weren't counting on 230 million people. I don't think that was ever in the purview when they put this together, to where we get to the point where the numbers of population have become so vast that the Electoral College, and sometimes you will see a place like, let's say, California with a huge amount of populace, their numbers should increase to show that. But then you'd realize that places like Pennsylvania and New Hampshire won't matter, and the side with the popular vote being it is, and the popular vote seems to go more the Democratic way, you would have California, New York, Chicago, and Texas deciding who is our leadership.
Well, you would have, but you would have essentially New York and California, and maybe Florida, and Texas maybe, determining the direction of the entire country. So that's no longer the union of states. That is the most populated states, the most populous regions, determining the fate of everything else. And that it's worked. To abandon that, I'm really concerned about that, because the idea. I understand. I don't understand how people can overlook that. I get what they're weird about when the popular vote is different than the Electoral College vote, but the game is the Electoral College as opposed to the popular vote. So people that are campaigning are not campaigning for the popular vote; they're campaigning a way to get the Electoral College votes.
You wouldn't take trips to Minnesota. You wouldn't take trips to Michigan.
Right.
You would spend all your time in California and New York.
That's right.
Big numbers.
That's right.
And I get it. If the popular vote leans your way, you're going to probably want the popular vote. Democrats are like, we should have a popular vote. But I guarantee if the popular vote was going Republican ways, the Democrats would be saying electoral is where it's at. I think there has to be some fine-tuning, in terms of just looking at some of the numbers that maybe California gets an extra senator, or you start looking at some of the growth spurts in different places, or even separating. California is so divided that the Republican voice in California would be strong in any other state, but they just get drowned out because the city of LA is so blue. So, Northern California is a lot more conservative. So you just don't get, they don't get necessarily their voices heard because they're drowned out because of the populace of the Los Angeles County. So,
right. Which is why California should be divided into 5 states. Yes?
Yeah, really should. But it's not, every year someone wants to do something, but those are things that I think more realistic than going to just the popular vote, because then there is literally no point for the Midwest and other places who have smaller populations, their voices, their concerns. If it's not an issue for California and New York, it's not an issue. It would not be an issue. So I think we're lucky to have the Electoral College, and we should stick with it. We can always fine-tune things. We can always improve them.
Yeah.
It's funny because Joe Biden's got the electoral vote so far, and Trump has the popular vote, which is what my psychics predicted.
Wait, what is this?
Right now, Joe Biden has the electoral votes, and Donald Trump has the popular vote.
That seems weird.
Yeah, no, that's what was predicted on my show.
Interesting. And this is somebody's calling that?
It's I'm looking at the let's see, it's the Associated Press.
I just
so far. I mean, it may be. I don't know if this is in real time, but that's what I saw.
This is going to be a weird night, I think. So
you won't know until later tonight once California comes in.
Right.
Looks like North Carolina might go Biden.
Interesting.
That would be.
There's
good
a
for
couple that
Biden.
look a little Ohio, Michigan. Was it Ohio?
Yeah, might go Biden.
Yeah. Carolina. There's a couple things going on, but looks like Trump's going to hold fast in Florida. Ohio, Biden seems to have a big lead in, but it's early. Here's the thing: with 2% of the vote in, and they're like Biden with a 75% lead or Trump with is really ridiculous. It's wasted stats.
Listen, I went to bed in 2000.
to like half the votes are in, you can kind of get a pretty good idea of what's going on, or maybe 30%. But we got to have ratings because they want you to watch TV for 8 hours tonight. So,
right.
You know, the projections. And again, what America needs to remember is all this talk about voting and stuff. We've never had a total vote count on election day. We have a projected president, and the media kind of says this is the guy based on the numbers that you're president. And then a few days later, it's confirmed. So, you know, it's,
okay, we got some calls. We got some calls, Tyrus.
Right. Well, I want to talk to Casey, who sent me a video on drdrew.locals.com. And Casey, where was that Halloween party?
Okay, so I don't want to tell you the exact name of the place, but I was in Santa Barbara, California, on State Street.
Okay. And aren't you, do you want to get a COVID test this couple of days? It was very concerning. It was really surprising because bars are the environment where this thing gets passed. And this seemed to be a bar in full regalia.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, to be honest with you, I actually just stayed at home. You know, just wanted to see how I feel, and I feel great right now. Yes, I will. If it makes you feel better, I'll get a COVID.
No, it doesn't. I'm just kidding. But it really was. I thought, well, that's how it spreads. That just is. And I am. Listen, I am at this. It was a Halloween party in a bar, which looked like a bar, you know, like imagine the busiest bar you could ever imagine, and no one wearing a mask, and it was on. And I have no problem with that if people want to take that risk, as long as they understand they're taking that risk and that they need to kind of conduct themselves accordingly for a few days afterwards.
So now that was my entire attitude. When I showed up following Proto, I did everything, and then nobody was following Proto, so I just kind of went in Rome.
Well, I know. I was at a fundraiser a couple weeks ago, and no one had masks, and you feel kind of it's weird. You go with the sort of the prevailing attitudes at the spot. Now I was outside and in the sun and all kinds of things, so I thought, no big deal.
What fundraiser?
But
Dr. Drew.
Yeah.
Even the police weren't wearing masks.
That's interesting.
At the end of the night, there were 10 police floating around. One guy was wearing a mask.
And this was not a private party. This was a bar.
No, out in public.
Really interesting. Really interesting. Well, I enjoyed the video. It made me feel normal because you know what I mean? It made me feel like, oh, people are having normal experiences again. That's nice. We'll see what the attack rate is in Santa Barbara the next week.
Yes, sir. Hey, before I go, can I say hi to a couple of people on the YouTube side?
Yeah.
So what's going on, Tom? Tom Cigars knows I'm talking to him right now. What's going on, GSR Savage? What's going on? McDonald's Farmer. Love you guys.
Wait a minute, there's more. How about Dunn 9977? And how about?
Oh, that's true.
Go ahead.
I'll follow your lead. How's that sound?
Well, I'm looking. There's. Wait a minute. Are you tweeting at the same time? I mean, are you putting in stuff on the chat at the same time as you're talking to me?
Tyrus hanging off the edge.
Yes, I can multitask.
Wow, pretty good. Well done. B-World, huh? These are all guys that were on the YouTube side. Okay, well, listen, I appreciate your support. I appreciate the video. Keep it coming, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, and you guys have a wonderful election night.
We're having one so far. How about I take a little break right now? Caleb, you cool with that? We're going to take a little break. We're going to come back with your calls. We're going to keep screening them here. I've got a few lined up. And, here's the free will and determinism call up there. So, Tyrus, prepare yourself. We're going to have a little philosophy conversation when we get back, okay?
Can't wait.
All right. We're gradually moving back to opening schools and businesses and, of course, our in-person interactions. I want to remind you, this is all time with cold and flu season getting going. Staying hydrated is key to helping your body deal with the added stress and with the upcoming flu season. My regular fans have heard me talk about a product called Hydrolite for a long time now. It's an amazing rapid rehydration drink. It's a mix that, well, we're obsessed with here. I'm excited to announce they've just released Hydrolite Plus Immunity, just in time for cold and flu season. Hydrolite Plus Immunity starts with their fast-absorbing electrolytes and adds a host of immune-boosting ingredients. Each single-serve, easy-pour drink mix contains 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and 300 milligrams of elderberry extract, creates what is hopefully immune-boosting formula that's high in antioxidants and zinc. Combining this with Hydrolyte's 7 key electrolytes, it's a fantastic way to stay proactive and properly hydrated. Hydrolyte Plus Immunity comes in convenient, easy-to-pour powder sticks that rapidly dissolve in water and make a great tasting drink that has 75% less sugar than your typical sports drink. It uses all natural flavors, and it is gluten-free, dairy-free, caffeine-free, non-GMO, and it is vegan. And you can find Hydrolyte Plus by visiting hydrolyte.com/Dr. Drew. Again, that's HYDRALYTE.com/DRDRW. And be sure to use our code Dr. Drew 25 at checkout for a special discount. The World Health Organization estimates that each year approximately 1 million people take their own life. That's one death every 40 seconds. Experts predicted numbers would peak in 2020, but no one could have imagined the devastation brought on by COVID-19. During the coronavirus pandemic, you may experience anxiety, sadness, and loneliness. Existing mental health conditions, including severe anxiety and major depression, may worsen. If you're feeling hopeless, contemplating self-harm, or you're concerned about someone else, I'm here to tell you there is hope. A Mission for Michael is dedicated to helping clients achieve complete inner and outer transformation. Mission for Michael is the premier resource for intensive mental health treatment in Southern California. With an astonishing 2-to-1 client-to-staff ratio, each client in their facility receives individual care 24 hours a day, overseen by a team of all doctorate or master's level clinicians. With a focus on evidence-based treatment, along with personalized and compassionate care, they offer mental health treatment that can change lives. If you're suffering from mental illness or you're concerned about a loved one, go to amfmtreatment.com. Again, that's a Mission for Michael, amfmtreatment.com, or call 866-581-4401. Again, that is 866-581-4401. All right, Tyrus. What are you watching the TV? What'd you learn?
I'm just learning, I'm checking, and it's a school night, so I'm also giving the evil eye to my daughter.
Good.
Yeah, it's about that time to start getting ready.
Very effective.
She wants to push the envelope because Dad's working. So
okay, I'm gonna let you go in about 15 minutes, but I want to get into this conversation with you. David put this up on the Restream chat, and I want to let him ask the question. David, go ahead.
Hello?
Hi there. David?
Yes. Hi, my name is David Ferrer.
Please, let's go, David. Let's have it.
Okay, well, this really been bothering me lately. I'm worried about the psychological effect on humans once science proves within the next couple of years that we don't have free will. Mm-hmm. I was wondering, how would everyone feel? How would you feel once science proves we don't have free will? And do you currently believe in free will?
Why are you so convinced that there's no such thing as free will?
Because everything follows laws of physics. It's either through quantum mechanics, things could be random, which we don't have free will, or things follow laws of physics, which we don't have free will. It's like free will. It's not a possibility, I think, in any universe.
Right.
So if it's random.
So when we talk about wave mechanics, what is the one characteristic feature of how we determine, say, the location of an electron? Just talk about wave mechanics for a second. Just basic physics. What is the necessary mathematical model for us to talk about that? What do we call that?
Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. You never know the location.
Right.
And
so the uncertainty. Right. So there's the uncertainty, but you're correct. But what I was looking for was the mathematical modeling, which is probability. Right. Nothing is certain in mechanics. Nothing. And so to talk about determinism, you have to assume that things are certain, when in fact they're really just a giant mass of probability mechanics. And we are just emergent properties of a giant wave function, right? And as such, there may be forces, but a part of those forces may allow for the possibility of our brains being able to make real choices in real time. Now, I agree, we're not super aware, we're not actually aware of how our brain does that. In other words, the brain's making choices long before we have conscious awareness of it. But if probability is the underpinning of physics, I see that there could be a compatibilist solution to Laplace's demon. Right? Laplace's demon is a Newtonian idea that if we knew the space and the position and velocity of everything in the universe, we could determine everything for all of history. Well, when Einstein came along, Laplace's demon did not make sense anymore. So I'm guessing that although we're not fully aware of how our brain does this, that the existence of probability leaves a space, and the fact that we are just part of emergent properties of a giant wave mechanic, a giant wave function, leaves the possibility of a compatibilist understanding of free will, in which case everything's not predictable at 100%, right?
Yes, but how, if science could prove that free will doesn't exist, how do you think humans would react?
If they were to, all right, so you want to just propose a what if. So, Tyrus, if we as humans were shown that free will didn't exist, how do you think we would respond to that, Tyrus? Everything's determined.
Probably go, everything's determined?
Yeah.
Then I would be like, who the hell did I piss off?
Well, we actually lived by this.
Choice. We just added a caveat of consequences. I can literally do anything I want. It's just I chose to live in a society. So my free will of murdering my neighbor, I can do it. I can be proud that I did it, but there will be consequences. So when this seems to me, and I'm just keeping, like, what if we don't? Well, just the fact that you're having this argument proves free will. Like
in an interesting way. That's true. That's interesting.
It's more convenient. It's also more convenient. I'm all about accountability, man, and everything in my life is because I chose to do it, and I don't rely on religion where it's someone else's fault or somebody else's will. Whenever I take a knock in life, it's because of a choice that I made. I'm all about accountability, and if you're telling me you don't have free will, okay, well, whatever we have, it's still my fault. So
I think,
this is just to have when you have way too much weed.
So I think you're absolutely correct that the humans will default to our sort of evolutionary biological circumstance, and we'll just go, all I got is the consequences, and I'm going to act accordingly. And that, I think you're absolutely correct. However, he asked what would happen if the humans believed that everything was determined. I want to remind him that there was this.
We would just be back in the religious times again.
We would be back in New England.
Popes had or bishops and people
no.
would tell you that.
You're right from a Catholic standpoint, but Calvinism explicitly had that policy. Calvinism, which is what founded New England, which was the Puritans, was that God has already determined everything, and you don't know what it is, but it's already predetermined. So good luck. I mean, we lived. This country was founded on a deterministic sort of principle. Yep. So just read up on Calvinism. You'll see it's a very strange doctrine about what Puritans believed. And we're still under the influence of, I'm reading this book called Albion's Seed, which is about the three major British immigrations to this country, and he chronicles how their culture, eating habits, genetics still influence us today. And it was essentially New England and the Calvinists. It was somewhat Pennsylvania and the Quakers. It was the Highlands, the people out of the Highlands of England that came into the South, and they were maniacs. And those maniacs decided they'd put their family in a wagon and go west. And so the maniacs amongst the maniacs are all out here. Tyrus, enough said.
Like I said, it's one of those things where it's an existential thing. Like, are we really here? Is this real? I just think we live in such a time when everyone's looking. We especially see it in younger people, where accountability is a disease. And so I think people would be really relieved if there was no free will, because then, therefore, I'm not responsible for anything I did. And so you can't hold me responsible, and you cannot punish me. If it is predetermined that I don't ever leave my home, pay my bills, don't raise my kids, it's not my fault. It's somebody else's. It's really convenient if you think about it.
Oh yeah. Oh no. It pragmatically it becomes problematic.
My kids will be here when they be here, but until then, I'm on the Xbox because that's where I'm supposed to be.
Well, the Calvinists, they brought in this wrinkle, which was you got to live with grace, because if you don't, you're not living according to what's predetermined for you. Even you don't know it, but then you won't go to heaven. But you can go to heaven. Except it's very circuitous kind of thinking.
The problem with the Puritans was man. The philosophy was great, but the guys calling the shots didn't follow their own feet. They wanted them to serve underneath them, and I'm sure if anyone wants to take the time to look at the history of the church in this country, some of the most devout and passionate and right-living and forthright men of God that we fought literally made Jeffrey Dahmer look like a pretty good substitute teacher. So,
well, as you say,
the problem with those belief factors, it's just like individual freedom. The problem with individual freedom is the individual.
Right.
These three ways of thinking, but anytime a man, especially a man, gets power over other men, he kind of forgets the rules for himself and enforces them on the others with brutality and fear.
Janelle is saying, I'm having to drink to get through tonight. God didn't decide for us. He just knows what we'll do at the result. Inviting Disaster, The Edge of Technology. It's basic psychology book for disasters. Thank you, Patrick. Isn't probability just a way of mathematically modeling something we don't fully understand? No, that's not true, Dylos Cougar. Probability actually exists.
It's we can't.
Yeah, it's if you want to, a guy named Sean Carroll has a great podcast called Mindscape that he gets into how probability is a feature of the physical universe. We think, of course. All right, let's get some calls going here. Let's see, this is Blurry, or Blurry was one of your names. Go ahead.
Good evening. Happy election night. Blurry here.
Good evening, Blurry.
So you guys were just hitting up. I was just calling in to say hello. And what? Do we have sound?
Yeah, I hear you. Go loud and clear.
Okay. I was calling in because I wanted to say hello to Tyrus and you and just tell you what a great job you've been doing since COVID. You know, I've been catching you on Scope.
Thank you.
And then I learned your wife works with you, so that was kind of exciting. And Tyrus, your wife is beautiful. I saw you on here also.
And Tyrus works for his wife.
Oh, I see. I don't even know that.
Yeah, Tyrus, talk about it. Tell us about the food.
Oh, Sensible Meals. She's a master trainer, and she's been running a meal prep program for well over 6 years now, and I believe it's still the #1 in the country. So she's been changing a lot of people's lives, and you can check them out at sensiblemeals.com or on Instagram or Twitter.
And Tyrus has been in the kitchen much of COVID.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm.
What state is Tyrus in now?
Say it again, Lori.
What state is Tyrus in?
Louisiana. He's in Louisiana.
Okay, now real quick, because I want to let you guys get back to that conversation. I was getting kind of into it. I just wanted to first of all, I'm all excited about tonight. What are the odds of California going red?
0?
Do you really think so?
Blue. And Alabama going blue.
Okay.
Didn't
you all? Wait a second. Last year, you all said Trump could not win, and everybody was telling me I was crazy, and I saw everybody literally flip out saying it's impossible. So, could that happen again with California, like a shocking moment?
Let's go to bed thinking of hold both possibilities in mind. You know what I mean? Make both of them okay for you. And let's wake up and let's see where we are in the morning, and hopefully Susan wants to, so hold on.
So Tyrus, Alabama is pretty red. Pretty red.
Yeah, California's pretty blue. The thing about it is that I don't think President Trump ever thought of California was in the plan. so that's why he spent so much time in the Midwest and North and South. So,
but Ohio and Pennsylvania are definitely blue, so that's making it tough for him.
Ohio and Pennsylvania. So Ohio and Pennsylvania are going to Biden, you're saying?
Yeah, it looks pretty blue.
Interesting.
So far.
It's like 60% in. It's so misleading. It just depends on which counties are being counted. Then you'll see like a huge, you'll see they call it the red wave or the blue wave. It just, we really don't know until we get into that 80 percentile. So it won't be later tonight. But if Biden were to pull, I think Ohio definitely would be considered an upset, and North Carolina would be an upset.
Yeah,
looks like it's going to pull. So, and Florida's basically his hometown, so it's his home state basically.
I agree with. I just look at patterns and how people, how people's lives go, and I agree with you with being cautious before you declare anything this evening, because I've already had multiple texts from people going both directions.
Oh, I know.
And then I thought to myself, Trump has this way of pulling a rabbit out of the hat, and so I wonder what that means. I don't know what that means even. I just know that's his deal, and so we'll see what that means.
I mean, the popular vote, they're very close, but it's just the...
What's that, Tyrus?
Yeah, people lie to pollsters, and people will say, they'll publicly say, "Oh, I'm voting for Biden," or they vote for Trump, and especially it's not. It used to be where no one discussed their political views, and so
which is how it should be.
Now it's politics is the new religion.
That's so true.
People are coming force, and we're seeing huge numbers, and unfortunately, I think it was for the Democratic Party, it was arrogance to think that it was just their wave of people that were early voting, and what we're seeing tonight is that's not true, because what should have happened was huge leads for Trump early, and then Biden catching him at the end when the mail-in ballots start coming in. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing that Trump is holding steady, so which shows that not just people voting today, but a lot of those mail-in ballots were apparently you can follow the CDC and still vote for President Trump. And I think a lot of people were thinking this was the mask versus no mask election, and that it was people who looked at Dr. Fauci and the CDC looking at that as that was going to be the leader on voting. And we're seeing tonight that apparently a lot of people separate policy with how he handled COVID, because a lot of people thought that didn't really care for the way that he handled it, and that he was brash when he got it, was insensitive to a lot of people, because most of us don't get 12 doctors when we get COVID. So, but it seems to not be as big as effect as I thought it was.
Thank you, Blurry.
It should have been a blowout. Look at the pollings.
Frank, what do you say?
Quite some eye-opening conversations tonight. Woof.
Mm-hmm. Woof, indeed. What's going on?
Wrap my head around this, I tell you. So, coronavirus reinfection, has that been a big factor recently?
No, it does happen. It has been shown to happen, and hopefully in the new year we're going to have some technologies that will allow us measure whether or not somebody is truly immune, whether or not they have antibodies. Presently, we're seeing a decay in the antibody response over about 6 months, which makes us worry that after 6 months there could be a reinfection, but we don't know the cellular immunity status, so what all the T cell function is doing, and we don't know the memory B cell function, which we will be measuring in the new year. So that question will be more able to be answered accurately. The same thing is true with the vaccine. Do we need revaccination? Are we truly immune after we've been vaccinated? That's something too we have to develop some technologies to be able to measure. So it is a little scary if somebody has been through COVID. I think if I got it, I would assume I would be pretty good for about 6 months.
Well, that's good news. What does Naomi's ass smell like?
What is that? Is that something, Tyrus, you've been exposed to?
So what?
I don't know. It sounded like something that happened in a wrestling hold, I'm guessing. Naomi's ass, so I'm just guessing. I don't know.
On that note, I'm good.
Okay.
Wouldn't know. So.
All right. And this is Claire. Hey, Claire, what's going on?
Good morning, Dr. Drew. It's me, Claire.
Hi, Claire.
I just wanted to say hi.
Hey there.
And wish you a great day.
Thank you. How's
I wanted to tell you that watching you on Teen Mom is one of my favorite things to do. It's probably the greatest moment of my life.
Well,
You're so intelligent. You don't know how beautiful you are to me.
Well, Claire,
I mean, you're just gorgeous and precious.
Claire, thank you. We have a new reunion coming in January. We just met for it, and it went very, very interestingly. So you can look forward to that. They did a good job of keeping everybody distanced, and still were able to have a reunion. So it was kind of nice, actually. Claire, any question?
I want to know how you think the real estate market's going to go after the coronavirus.
It's really an interesting question. What do you think, Tyrus?
Never better time to buy New York.
Well, it's cheap. Yeah, here's what has happened at because we have a friend who's a realtor, and she was telling us that the really expensive stuff has come down. The mid-range stuff is mixed. The lower range, which is still expensive, has held. But the main thing that has changed is rent rates. Rents have come down. And I suspect New York is probably a harbinger. Now, here's the other thing. There's a thing going on in California where there's a proposition where they are going to, if it passes, we got to look at what's going on with the proposition, Susan. Can you find out? 15. Where they are going to adjust the property tax for commercial real estate, which could dramatically increase rents in this area. So it's very hard to predict what's going to go on. And then California, people are leaving it. People are leaving New York. People are leaving California. What's that going to do to the real estate market? I don't know. I still think New York is an amazing place to live. California, not so much. Not so much. For the propositions? Yeah.
I literally am the exact opposite of you on that. But speaking of dramatic, it is about that time for me because I have to chase a 6-year-old and get her behind in bed. She thinks she's going to stay with you, who's the president.
I get it.
She's not hearing it. You guys are well past those days, and looks like it has to be a tag team event.
I understand.
Her mom. And,
I totally get it.
She really wants to know who's going to be president. She's so excited about the Trump guy and the Joe guy. She really needs to know.
Well, look, the good news is you've got somebody engaged in the political process, but I agree with you. Go put her down. All right, my friend. Great to see you. Missed you.
Great to see you guys.
And we'll talk to you next week or so, okay?
Love you, Tyrus.
Yeah.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.
All right, I will still take some... whoop. I'm having weird feedback here. There we are. I will continue to take your calls, and I'm going to do a little COVID review here. Let me just get the calls through real quickly. This is Jenna. Go ahead. Hi, Jenna.
Hey, Dr. Drew.
Hey, Jenna.
So I like what Tyrus said about how he thinks this is, or people were thinking this was going to be a mask versus no mask election because it has felt like that for sure.
Yeah, it's weird.
I live
Very
in
weird.
a red state. I live in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
And in Utah here, I have a lot of no mask wearing friends and anti-mask people. And I know, Dr. Victory, I've heard a lot of people say the argument that this is really going to affect kids.
Mm-hmm.
And while I agree that no in-person school for sure is going to affect kids.
Yeah.
I personally have 3 kids. I have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-year-old. And my 6-year-old, my 3-year-old, they're able to go to in-person school. And as far as the mask wearing, I don't think it's affecting kids at all, personally.
Interesting. Interesting.
My 6-year-old and my 3-year-old wear them all day at school. They have never complained about it. They haven't. They have no issues. I mean, we just kind of told them there's a virus, people are getting sick, you got to wear this mask, and they went, okay, and put them on. No big deal.
Now, hold on.
That they can wear.
Now, hold on. The Dr. Victory's, and again, I'm super enthusiastic about masks, so I'm not an anti-mask person, but I'm sympathetic to people that are anti-mask. But her issue with children was that during development you need to learn to read faces and see emotions on other people's faces, a way of understanding your own emotional. And she was saying this was blocking that. So you're saying not that they are somehow affected by themselves wearing the mask. It's more the adults wearing the mask is affecting them developmentally. We'd have to see some evidence of that, frankly. And you're saying you don't feel that's going to matter.
I mean, I would say I haven't experienced that. So again, with my kids, they seem to notice, like if we're at the store, we all have our masks on, they seem to notice if I'm upset or not. I mean, I feel like they're really focusing on my eyes and my eyebrows these days.
Isn't that
and,
interesting?
You know, the 2-year-old, yes. And so the 2-year-old, the same way.
Isn't that interesting?
I think maybe the first grocery store trip, she seemed a little jarred by the first grocery store trip, but by now I really feel, I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens. But personally, I've been really surprised at how fine they seem to be with people wearing masks and able to tell, you know, read people's emotions through their eyes and their eyebrows. I mean, my kids have made comments about, oh, you're getting upset. I can see it in your eyebrows. You know, it's kind of funny.
That's fascinating. And listen, that's why we need evidence for anything we say in medicine. Maybe it will improve their ability to read emotions by focusing them more intently on certain parts of the face. It's really an interesting question. I appreciate that, Jenna. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Thank you. And I want to talk, Buddy's got, we were talking anxiety, and Buddy wants to talk a little PTSD. Buddy, go ahead.
Oh, it's actually Buddy.
Hi, Buddy.
I am calling because I want to get back into therapy, but I'm not sure how to kind of go about it. The issue I'm kind of toggling back and forth with is regarding, well, the main thing I'm pretty much going back for is regarding PTSD. One, for my own, but also I've been pretty much the only parent for my son for 10 years.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of special needs issues, autism, epilepsy.
Oh, my.
So I'm just very exhausted between all the therapy appointments and, you know, that kind of thing.
Of course.
So plus anxiety in 2020, just pile it on, right?
Yes.
So
yes. I mean, that's serious. And we're in the middle of this election thing, and we're all, and everyone's, but are you able to reach out to other people and connect and get support, that sort of thing?
Yeah, my dad and my brother are my absolute rocks through, well, I guess the past decade. So I have a very good family support system, but there are just some things that, you know, you don't feel comfortable talking to your family about, but I know now that I'm in a better place, you know, I went back to school and got my graduate degree.
Great.
And so, you know, I'm in a good spot to where my son is doing a lot better, not as many therapy appointments.
Cool.
So,
cool. Good for you.
The stress is going down.
You sound pretty good. Where's all the PTSD? I don't pick it up.
Kind of deals with when my son was 3, he was locked in a car at a mall parking lot.
Ugh.
And so, and I guess it sounds kind of weird, like, it didn't happen to me, but I feel like it did.
Okay, see, here's the deal. This kind of experience is really something that's highly treatable with things like EMDR or neurobiofeedback. These sorts of specific trauma therapies are very good for isolated traumas and phobias, things like that. And so please do, when you do go back, I mean, you might not have to go that long if you get a good therapist who has EMDR and neurobiofeedback accessibility. Thank you, buddy. Tiger Stripes asked about having a pulse oximeter at home. Strangely, I just ordered a couple of them for our home here. Let's see here. Okay. We're going to talk a little vaccine here with Heather. Go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Drew.
Hey there. What's up?
I am a labor and delivery nurse, and we've been getting a lot of talk about vaccine, and that we would be the first ones who would get it. And I think my main concern is I don't have children yet, and I don't know if it's silly to be concerned that could it, since we don't know anything about it, if fertility issues could be something that
I understand your anxiety. How old are you?
I'm 30.
Yeah, so I really understand 30-year-olds being 25 to 40-year-olds being cautious about the vaccine because the risk of COVID to you is so low that you worry that, oh, what kind of choice am I making if I take a vaccine where the potential is sort of unknown, at least hasn't been fully documented yet. And I watched the literature pretty carefully on the COVID vaccines, and I've not seen anything like a fertility issue. There's not those kinds of side effects that I am seeing. But again, this is all, we got to get all the published data out there before we really know. So it's hard to say. But as healthcare providers, we're going to have access to this vaccine. I'm going to get it quickly. And do you see much COVID where you're practicing?
I'm in Kansas, and we're starting to see it more. I live in a college town, and our numbers have been getting a little crazy. Mm-hmm. So we've been seeing it more, but I work in a community hospital, so a lot of it goes up to Kansas City. So I don't really deal with a lot of it, especially in labor and delivery.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of it.
Yeah.
Because luckily, mom's very careful.
I think you should, I would strongly urge you to talk to whoever your infection control nurse is there, talk to her. And talk to your own doctor and talk to other peers and sort of get a consensus in your head. Again, I don't want to infect you with my enthusiasm, right? I want these things, I want the vaccine right away. But I understand your concerns. I understand why you might want to delay. And the risk of COVID to you is so minimal. The fatality rate from COVID right now is 1.15% overall. And as you might imagine, the vast majority of that is in people who are over the age of 65, really over the age of 70, to be fair. And it is unlikely to have the dramatic effects on the younger person. Very unlikely, like really rare. So let me go over a little bit of COVID stuff here, if you guys don't mind for a second. Let's get the data up. I'm going to try to refresh this and see if we can get all the way to November 3rd with it. Look at the data for the country. No, it only goes to November 2nd. Betty, I see.
Betty Boop.
She said it. Oh, that's Betty Boop. She said it was Buddy like that when she was the first one on the feed. She was the first one on the stream tonight. We saw her. Thank you, Betty. Buddy. That's me. That's on me. So the COVID, the case-demic we are in, and I'm using that non-provocatively. It's just we are in a case-demic. We peaked out close to 100,000 cases. It looks like it may be coming down, but who knows? It's probably going to plateau up there. The hospitalization has gone up. What's intriguing to me is that if you look at the full range of what has happened in this epidemic, we've had 3 spikes. One in the country, one that spiked around 30,000, one that spiked around 70,000, and now this one that's up towards 90,000. And each of the spike has had a corresponding spike in hospitalization. But even though the spikes were stepwise, the hospitalization has been steady. There's been no escalation in the hospitalization rate in spite of the increase in the cases. So the hospitalization has plateaued in each case, in each of these surges, around 60,000. Now, right now, in spite of being at close to 100,000 cases per day, we're only at, it's a lot, about 50,000 hospitalizations per day. And the same is true of the death rate. The death rate peaked at 2,500-ish when we were at the lowest. Do you see, am I explaining this well, Susan? You see this, how it steps up, yes. But this hasn't changed, and this has gone down. Right. The death rate has gone down in spite of the cases going up. And hospitalizations has essentially stayed the same in each of the surges, though we don't know fully yet where this surge is going. But the death rate, which we will see, it did not go up. It's still a lot of people. I'm not minimizing this. I'm just talking numbers here. At around 1,200 cases, 1,200 per day, when we were at 60,000 per day, and now we're at about, we're maybe 900 per day, maybe, when we're at 90,000. Now that, again, death rate is a lagging indicator, so we don't know where that might be going. So, and strangely, I do a lot of looking at California because I am in California, and California's been doing remarkably well. There's a little tick up that occurred in California to about 4,500 cases per day, well off our peak, which was at around, 12,000 cases a day, so now we're just at 4,500. The hospitalizations got worse during the summer when we had that 12,000 peak. But we're staying flat now, and the death rate continues strongly negative. The slope is strongly negative in California. which is very interesting. Now, the other thing that interests me is what we are calling a lockdown, say, in England. Now, some of you got here, yes, coronavirus outbreak. In England, they are now using the military to test people for COVID. Yes, and England has had a, quote, lockdown. Yet, those of you who are in England, tell me if this is true or not. Well, it's 9 hours later there. It's probably too late. But what I'm understanding is what they're calling lockdown is what we in California are calling opening. In other words, in England, you are allowed to go to work, go to school, ride public transportation. You just can't go to restaurants and bars at night. That's what we call open here in California. So it's you got to really listen carefully. The news just doesn't give you the data that in this lockdown in England is actually the same state that we're in California here all the time. We are in lockdown. We call it opening, but we are in lockdown. So what you're hearing about now, I don't know what Belgium is going to do. Apparently Belgium is having a pretty rough outbreak there, and I'm having trouble getting that data. If anybody has any recommendations for where to find European data, I am... Ian, France went on lockdown. Again, it's more a curfew than a lockdown. They never said anything insane like shelter in place, like you would if there were a nuclear holocaust. They said, go about your business, wear a mask, distance, don't go out at night. That seems to be... and Dunn 9977 is saying UK is nothing like in California. I'm correct. France, kids go to school. That's right. And you go to work. That's right. Here, you don't go to school. You're encouraged to stay home. You can't go to bars. You can't eat inside a restaurant. It's we get a little more freedom because we can go out at night to the restaurants to eat outside. That's where we have a little more wiggle room here in California. And the crazy thing about California is they continue to hold the sword of Damocles over our heads, saying they're going to lock us down, which means shelter in place here, which is truly insane. And those kinds of lockdowns, the World Health Organization has come out strongly against, saying they do nothing but make poor people poorer. In the meantime, again, I'm mostly focused on what's going on in California because I'm stuck out here. We have a Disneyland that's shut down, with the state barely discussing with them a road to opening, and 50,000 jobs lost in and around the Disneyland operation. And no one seems to care about those lives that are upended. 50,000 people's lives turned upside down. Why aren't we worried about that? The mental health impact of all this is profound. And I just don't understand. Maybe I'm missing something, guys, but I just don't understand. So anyway, yes, Australia, I think, has a more severe lockdown. I think Florida may, but I'm not sure. So anyway, the numbers are still under 200 a day. Is that deaths in Belgium, or is that cases per day? So, all right. So I'm going to wrap things up, guys. I hope you're calm. I hope you're staying with your family. We're going to go out to dinner. We're going to hang out. We're not going to watch the television. Much like in 2016, I went to bed assuming Hillary Clinton was going to be president of the United States and woke up sort of amazed. I feel like we're probably not going to know everything in the morning or even later tonight. Oh my goodness. Allison has written me quite a historical diatribe here, a couple of them, and I'm afraid I can't read them without sitting down and reading these things. What about the Crohn's question? The which question? The Crohn's question. There's a reason I'm... I think I hope that we kind of calmed everybody down today. Dr. Yo is in the house. We're bringing our ivermectin. I am persuaded that ivermectin is a new and good treatment for COVID. So we are traveling. Yo's in the house, and he and I have been going back and forth all day. And I will be taking my worm medicine because it shows really good antiviral activity, and my doxycycline. I think I'll stay with the quercetin and the zinc otherwise. And I think I'm going to take that 4 to 6 day protocol you mentioned that they're using in Bangladesh. That makes more sense to me in terms of the antiviral properties of the ivermectin. So, and I know Dr. Zelenko was also very enthusiastic about ivermectin, and that sort of persuaded me a bit. What is that, Susan? You want him tomorrow? Dr. Yo in tomorrow? I do need to talk to Dr. Yo, so if he's available, I'd love to talk to him. I think we need to do an update because there's a lot going on. So if you're available to come in tomorrow and be part of the dose, I'd appreciate it. That'd be awesome.
There's questions about pets dying from...
Yeah, I saw that, and we can get into that tomorrow. Apparently, there was a reported dog death of COVID-19. I've talked to many vets about COVID. I don't know what to make of it because they've all said that COVID does not cause serious disease in animals. Look, viruses are nefarious creatures. They can affect different biologies differently. I need to know a lot about what exactly happened in that dog to understand what that was. So let's not make too much of that. We know that the virus can be carried by the animals, even tigers, if you remember back in the day. But in terms of being infected or infectious, the veterinarians that I've spoken to tell me that they are neither. That's what I've learned. Now, that may or may not be true. So calm yourself, everybody. We're going to be good with whatever the results are. I like the cool sort of... I like the feeling that we're kind of together on this and that people are doing what Americans do best, which is practicing the democracy. But I would urge you, if you have feelings, strong feelings about the Electoral College in the morning, remember that the Founding Fathers were pretty smart people, and their goal was to form a more perfect union of the states. Not to have a pure democracy, but to have a republic which formed a perfect union amongst the states of balanced representation of the needs of the populace in those states. Sometimes they were very unpopulated, those states, for long periods of time, and they're still relatively unpopulated relative to states like New York and California, Texas. But they deserve a representation, a Republican with a small r, Republican representation at the table, and part of that is the Electoral College. It might be a grave error to undo some of the thinking that was so carefully organized by Mr. Hamilton and Mr. Adams and some of these guys that really understood these things better than we, as Abraham Lincoln said. They understood the privileges that they were granting to one another, and they understood it better than we. So again, we will all stay cool tonight. We will do our thing. We will not have panic attacks and anxiety. Jeremy, Jeremy Moore Drunk History. Yes, Derek Waters has. He's going to put it back online. He told me, just so you know. What did somebody say about Hamilton? Yeah, I was talking about Hamilton, Maryland, and I was also talking about Adams, and I'm also talking about Jefferson. These guys all. I mean, Jefferson was more the scribe than the brains behind it. To be fair, I'm with you on that. So we will leave it at that. Thank you to Caleb for producing and operating the technical aspects of this as well. Thank you to Taylor for doing the screening. Susan, thank you for all this.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah, you were there monitoring stuff.
I haven't done anything. I don't have a mic. Caleb won't let me talk.
There it is. You have a mic now. Anything you want to say before I wrap this up?
I'm mumbling behind the scenes. Caleb is very stingy with the mic.
It's all right.
Thank you, Drew. I appreciate it. It's nice to be home. It's a lot easier here.
Yes,
than on the road.
New York, yes.
And tomorrow we'll try to get in maybe Dr. Yo or somebody. I haven't really reached out to anybody because I was waiting to see what the news was going to be today and what was going on and make sure we weren't going to be under siege or something.
No. We're going to be fine. Relax. All going to be good.
But like I said, my psychics are calling Biden, just so everybody knows.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be okay.
It looks like he's ahead in the electoral, and Trump's got the popular, but who knows? Who knows?
I have no idea.
I'm not making my predictions because I don't know anything.
I would urge you, we all have felt so powerless in this outbreak that I would urge you to not think of whatever the outcome is as an expression of powerlessness, but an expression of the system in which you're all empowered to engage. And the outcome may not always go the way we like it, but it will go as it goes. And it's bigger than each of us, and we are all a part of it. So let's leave it at that.
Sorry we can't get everybody's calls, but we have to go celebrate our kid's birthday tonight.
Exactly right. So we'll see you tomorrow for another dose around 3 in the afternoon. And until then, bye-bye.
2:30.